Hello and welcome. I'm WOTLK and this is my channel. Today I have some exciting news for you. Phase 2 Best in Slot gear is starting to be uncovered, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to have multiple lists to go over from multiple specializations as well, so you can more easily make your choice of what you're going to play in Phase 2 and what kind of gear you're going to be shooting for. Before we start cracking into it, I just want to say that you probably are going to be pretty surprised if you've been talking with other hunters during Phase 1 and you heard what their speculations for Phase 2 were. I think this is going to throw your ideas a little sideways for a little bit of a curve here. Alright, on screen is, as you can see, it's two different windows. On that side of the screen, so your right side, that is the Phase 1 hunter trap weave, survival hunter trap weaving build right there. That if you're going for maximum DPS in Phase 1, that is your build. On the left screen right now, we are looking at Phase 2, what I believe is to be your Phase 2 survival hunter trap weaving best in slot gear. Okay, we're gonna cover other specializations like I said, but let's go ahead and cover this specialization real quick, and let's look at the differences that what we're gonna see between the two. So right off the bat, we can go ahead and look at these stats. Luckily, they're not covered by my camera, so you can compare them as well. You can see we could rock up to 23,798 health. In Phase 2, it looks like we're going to be rocking 27,658, which is a nice little boost up, although we don't really care about health. It looks like our stamina, we're going to go ahead and get like roughly about 400, a little less than 400 additional stamina. It looks like the most exciting part of this is we are going to have an additional more than 700 additional agility, it looks like. So that's going to be a big power boost right there. Our intellect, we're going to lose some intellect, it looks like, by roughly 70, a little bit more than 70 intellect, which in the grand scheme of things is not going to do a whole lot, but just means that we're probably going to have a little bit less of a mana pool. Our MP5 is not changing whatsoever. Our ranged attack power, we had 6,903. We can get up to 8,054 ranged attack power, which is exciting. So about, a little bit over 1,000 more ranged attack power. So for hit in Phase 2, it appears that we will not have to worry about it any longer. We do not need to put any talents into the hit talent, and we don't need to be in a party with a Draenei, and we'll be at a 8.11% ranged hit rating, which is perfect. Right where we want to be. Our ranged critical is going to be at 65% compared to how we were at 57%. Our ranged haste is going to be a little bit higher by, half a percentage. And the real exciting part of this is the armor penetration. We're going to be going from a 4.86% to 25.66%. But the real question is that enough armor penetration to justify going with marksmanship? Is that going to push us up to more damage in marksmanship than we were doing in survival? Well, I have the answer for you here. What we'll do is we're going to go ahead and look at the marksmanship build, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at the talents. We'll break down the gear and stuff, but obviously you all know that trap weaving is going to equal out to more DPS. So while I will link in the description gear sets and the builds for non-trap weaving, we aren't going to be breaking that down. We're only going to be talking about what is the max DPS. In Phase 2, trap weaving is still top DPS. Alright, let's take a look at the marksmanship build. Alright, here's the marksmanship build. As you can see, a couple pieces changed. Like, we're not going to be taking Dark Moon card Greatness with this. Our belt went ahead and changed to Belt of the Betrayed, where we had Soul Devouring Clinch. Yeah, some gemming and enchanting changed. We'll break that down further, but let's go ahead and look at the hard stats first. As you can see, we won't be gaining as much health, stamina, or agility with this build. We will be gaining a little bit of agility. Our MP5 is not changed. We won't have as much ranged attack power as we would with the survival build. Our ranged hit rating is unchanged from the survival build to this one. So we still wouldn't have to worry about our ranged hit. Our ranged crit is less than what it would be with the survival build. Our ranged haste is unchanged, and our armor penetration with this build is higher. It's 29.88% compared to, I think, like 25.66%. So it's what this build does is it pretty much, you're going to be sacrificing some of the other stats to try and maximize that armor penetration, because as a marksmanship, if you're going to want to top the survival DPS, in my belief, you're going to have to be stacking that armor penetration. Now, the real question is that extra armor penetration with the sacrifice of other stats enough to do more DPS in the survival build? Let's go ahead and simulate these two. First, we'll simulate the marksmanship build and see what kind of DPS we can expect. Alright, it appears that with this build and the talent build that it has, we can expect, if we're doing everything right, 10,143.35 damage per second, which, compared to the damage per second in phase 1, that sounds really, really good. That's a nice addition. That's going to be a lot more DPS than we were doing before. But is it enough to take over Survival's place on the top? Let's go ahead and check. We'll simulate this and see what it tells us. Boom. 10,628.06 damage per second. So we're looking at, still in phase 2, a 500 damage per second increase as survival compared to marksmanship. So pretty much, if you had watched my other videos where I talked about what specialization you would want to pick at max level, that video still stands. Survival is still the top in phase 2, unless for some reason WoWSims is getting this information wrong, and unless things change from now until when phase 2 releases. Then if that doesn't happen, survival is still king, and they're probably still going to be king until phase 3. When we're in Trial of Crusader, then I think we're going to be able to get more armor penetration. But don't worry, we will cover another video when we get to that. Alright, now that you've had a chance to go ahead and compare these, compare it to phase 1, to phase 2, to marksmanship, let's go ahead. We don't really need to be looking at, phase 1 anymore. We'll go ahead and compare both the phase 2 sets to each other. Let's go ahead and talk about where you can get these gear pieces from, what enchantments you should have on them, what you should gem them with. Alright, if you've been a hunter main, one thing that you've probably been annoyed about is having to do multiple raids every week to try and get a chance at all the pieces that you need for your true phase 1 best in slot gear. I know it's been annoying me personally. I would have rather, in an ideal world, you do one raid per week. You can clear that in one night. You got it done and over with, and you can work on your alts. And luckily, in phase 2, that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and see. Since all of these pieces come out of Old War, they all drop off of bosses in Old War. So gone are the days of having to do multiple raids every week to try and get all these pieces to drop for your true best in slot gear. Now that'll change in later phases when phases probably will release multiple raids per phase, but At least for phase 2, it's going to simplify your raid clearing every week and free up some of that, some of those days every week to ideally get some of those alts leveled up. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the headpiece, Boundless Gaze. It's both the same for the survival and the marksmanship trap weaving build here. This drops off of Algalon the Observer. Both marksmanship and survival are going to take Arcanum of Torment enchant. You should have that unlocked already. Now the gemming is a little bit different from survival and marksmanship. For survival, we're going to be picking up the meta gem that gives us 21 agility and 3% increased critical strike damage, along with a +8 agility and +12 stamina. But for marksmanship build, we're gonna put that second jump into a +6 to all stats gem. Now for the neck piece, we're gonna be going with Pendulum of the Infinity for both survival and marksmanship. It drops off of General Vezax. For survival, we're gonna be gemming it with a +16 agility gem. But for marksmanship, we're going to be putting our Jewel Crafter's +34 agility into that. Both are red gems, and it appears that we will not get that socket bonus because I think it takes a different socket than a red socket. Now for the shoulders, we're going to be going with Mantle of the Fiery, both for survival and marksmanship here. This drops off of the Flame Leviathan, and we will be enchanting it with the same enchantment, the Greater Inscription of the Axe. Like the head enchantment, you should have this unlocked through your reputations. For gems, we will gem survival with +16 agility, but for marksmanship, we're going to be going with 8 agility and 8 critical strike rating. For survival, we won't get that socket bonus. For marksmanship, we will get the +4 critical strike rating socket bonus. Now for the cape, we're going to be going with Drape of the Faceless General for both survival and marksmanship. Both are going to see Flex Weave Underlay as the meta enchantment. This is the engineering enchantment. For gems, we will be gemming survival with +16 agility and +8 agility and +8 rating. For marksmanship, we'll be putting a +34 agility and a +8 agility and +8 critical strike rating gem. Now for the chest, for both survival and for marksmanship, we will be going with Embrace of the Gladiator, dropping off of Thorum. For enchants, we will be going with +10 to all stats for both marksmanship and survival, and for gems for survival, we'll go with 2 +16 agility and a +20 agility socket. But for marksmanship, we'll be going with 3 +16 agility gems. Neither of the pieces will see the socket bonus. For our wrists, we're going to be going with Fluxing Energy Coils for both survival and marksman, which drops off of XT Tag 008 Deconstructor. Both will get a +50 attack power enchant, with survival gemming +16 agility and marksmanship gemming +8 agility and +8 hit rating. For our main melee weapon, we're going to be going with the Dream Binder for both survival and marksmanship. This drops off of multiple bosses. Those bosses are Algalon and Freya. For both survival and marksmanship, we'll be gemming it with the enchant two-handed weapon Massacre for that +110 attack power. And for survival, we'll be gemming it with 2 +16 agility gems. But for marksmanship, we'll be gemming a +20 agility and a +16 agility gem in there. Alright, for the bread and butter of every hunter, their dream weapon will be the Skyforge crossbow. The Skyforge crossbow drops off of Algalon and Thorum, so you have multiple chances at this weapon, which is a nice change from Phase 1, because Envoy of Mortality was the bane of my existence. I could not I could not get it to drop. I did not see it drop whatsoever. I still have my fingers crossed that the few weeks we have left before phase 2, we'll see it drop. But given that I haven't seen it drop at all for anybody, I don't know if I'm going to get that lucky. But fingers are still crossed. It's like the last piece I need to finish out phase 1. For both survival and marksmanship, we'll put the plus 40 critical strike Heartseeker scope. Alright, for the gloves, we're going to go with gloves of the steady hand for both survival and marksmanship. This drops off of XT TAC 002 Deconstructor. For the enchant for both survival and marksmanship, we'll go with the engineering enchant hyperspeed accelerators for that additional haste. For survival, we'll gem it with a plus 16 gem and a plus 8 agility and plus 12 stamina. And for marksmanship, we'll put a plus 34 agility and a plus 16 agility in there. Marksmanship will not see the socket bonus, but survival will. Now where the builds kind of change a little bit, for the waist for survival, we'll go with Soul Devouring Cinch. This drops off of Yag Saran, and we will gem it with 3 plus 34 agility gems, which you'll need jewel crafting for that. If you do not have jewel crafting, most likely you'll be gemming this with 3 plus 16 agility gems. And we will see the plus 12 attack power socket bonus. For marksmanship, we'll be going with Belt of the Betrayed, which drops off of Thorum. We will be enchanting it with the Frag Belt, which is an engineering enchant. And for the gem, we will be putting a single plus 16 agility gem into there. For both survival and marksmanship, we'll be going with the Leggards of Cunning Deception for our leg slot. This piece drops off of Yag Saran. For both survival and marksmanship, the enchant and the sockets are the same. We'll be enchanting it with the Ice Scale leg armor and gemming them both with 3 plus 16 agility gems, which we will not see the socket bonus on either. For the boots, for both survival and marksmanship, we'll be getting the Greaves of the Swift Vengeance, which drops off of the Steel Breaker. For both pieces, we will be doing the same enchantment, Nitro Boosts, which also gives us the plus 24 critical strike rating. And for survival's gems, we will be putting a plus 16 and a plus 8 agility with 12 stamina, and we'll get the socket bonus. For marksmanship, we'll be putting 2 plus 16 agility gems and not seeing the socket bonus. For both marksmanship and survival, the 2 rings will be the same. We'll be going with Brand's Signet ring and Brand's Sealing ring for the 2 slots. I believe both these drops come from quests, one being heroic and one being a normal dungeon quest. Brand's Signet ring will drop off of the heroic version, All That Ends Well, and Brand's Sealing ring will drop off of the normal version. I am 99% sure about that. Both rings have a socket on them. For both survival and marksmanship, all those sockets will be filled with plus 16 agility gems, and none of them we will see any of the socket bonuses off of them. Now another piece that these 2 builds differ from is the trinkets. For survival's trap weaving build, we will want to take the Dark Moon card Greatness. So if you've not purchased it yet and you want to still be a trap weaving survival hunter, then honestly right now is a great time to purchase it when the prices are starting to come down. I know on my server, when I purchased it, it costed like 9,500 gold. And now it's pretty much come down to 7,500 to 8,000 gold. So I don't suspect it's going to come down all that much more the later phases we get into, as more hunters are going to want to maximize their DPS. So probably when phase 2 releases and everybody can confirm they need the Dark Moon card Greatness, to for their sets, the price will probably go back up again. So right now it's probably your best time to buy it. For marksmanship, for your first trinket will be Mjolnir's runestone that drops off of Thorum. And for both survival and marksmanship, the second trinket you're going to be going for is Dark Matter, which is dropped off of Algalon the Observer. Alright, let's talk about the talent builds in case any of the talents go ahead and change in Phase 2. And let's go ahead and compare the survival talent build to the Phase 1 and Phase 2 builds. So as you can see, it is pretty much the same exact build. If you've been rocking the maximum DPS survival build that I had recommended, it's pretty much exactly the same. I don't, off the top of my head, see any differences between my recommendations and this build. It looks like they're exactly the same. Now, you will have to make your judgment call based on if your raid needs the hunting party buff, which 99% chance you don't need to cover that buff, and it'll be covered by somebody else, like a different class. And if that's the case, you'll want to go with this maximum DPS build. The way to confirm if you do or don't need to do that is just talk with your guild leader, your raid leader, and figure out what you need to do. For the marksmanship build, we'll go ahead and take a quick peek because I personally haven't looked at any marksmanship builds. It looks like Beast Mastery points are very similar to survival points, although you're going to take an extra point into focus fire. Then the bulk of the marksmanship build, you're trying to get down to get Chimera Shot. And you're actually not going to put any points into True Shot Aura, which is a little bit surprising to me. And then you're going to put a couple points, it looks like up to 10 points into Survival for some nice additional damage. Now, I'm assuming, just looking at this for the first time, I'm assuming you're going to have to talk with your raid leader or your guild master and see if they really expect you to bring the True Shot Aura if you're a marksmanship hunter. Because this is a nice buff for a raid to have, so if they're expecting you to have it, then you should have it. And that'll change up your DPS. You're gonna do less DPS for sure if you have to bring the buff, but you should work around your raid, don't work around yourself. Now you might be wondering, where's Beast Mastery? Why aren't you talking about Beast Mastery? You're not covering anything to do with Beast Mastery. Well, it's because it doesn't do as much damage, and we'll go ahead and show you right now. You can see that overall this build is pretty similar to the marksmanship build on the right. The gear pieces are exactly the same. It looks like the gems for the most part are the same, bar a couple exceptions. Of course, Beast Mastery, you're going to be taking jewel crafting and engineering still. Let's go ahead and simulate this Beastmaster build so you can see why it is not talked about very often. So as you can see, after simulating the build, you're going to see a significant decrease in DPS by taking Beast Mastery. This is Beast Mastery Trap Weaving build, so this is the maximum DPS output you're going to see as a Beastmaster. There's other builds that Beastmasters take more commonly that will see 1,000 less DPS than this build. I'll go ahead and link that in the description. I'll link all those builds in the description in case you want to go with any other builds, or maybe trap weaving is just too complex for you. You don't want to deal with trap weaving and you would rather just sit there and be a turret. I've got builds and recommendations for all of those, and I might make a video on those independently as well. But for now, we're only talking about maximum DPS, and that's through trap weaving. And as you can see, Beast Mastery Trap Weaving only does 9,934.92 DPS, whereas Survival is doing 10,628.06. So In my opinion, there's no reason to go with any other specialization right now other than survival if you want to supply the most benefit to your raid. Let's go ahead and talk about the Beast Mastery talent build just so you have an idea of, okay, I'm a Beast Mastery and I want to trap weave to do the maximum Beast Mastery damage. What should my talents look like? And what should I do? So here's an example of the Beast Mastery talent tree for the Beast Mastery section. You can go ahead and pause the video if you want to copy your talents over to this. You're going to be putting 10 points into marksmanship, and these are the 10 points you're going to spend. And then for survival, you're going to put 8 points into survival, and these are where you want to spend those points. If you don't know the difference between trap weaving and turreting, I'll go ahead and explain that now. Trap weaving is using an explosive trap throughout the fight instead of a black arrow, for example, or any other spell that would be on that same cooldown. You'll want to use your explosive trap when it's off cooldown. And this is going to maximize your damage output. Whereas if you're just a turreter, you're going to not be placing explosive traps, and instead you're going to be using your black arrow or just, any other spell that's not a explosive trap on that same cooldown, or just ignoring that cooldown altogether. But that's pretty much it. That's phase 2. I hope you all are ready. I'm super excited. I'm ready to get more gear. I love getting gear personally. I'm sure you all do. That's why we play the game. I'm hoping the drops are better for me in phase 2, especially for those key items like Dreambinder and Skyforge crossbow. I'll be so pumped up if I can get my hands on those early, because I just haven't had any luck with getting them at all in phase 1. So we'll see. Fingers are crossed. That's it for today, folks. Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, subscribe, leave a comment what you thought about the video in the comment section below. And if you want to be notified when I go ahead and post another video, make sure you hit that notification button. If you'd like to see me live on Twitch, the link to my Twitch is in every one of my videos' description. Other than that, thanks again for stopping by. Peace.